The propensity to celebrate is a natural human tendency. We mark our birthdays with cake and presents. Fireworks explode in tribute of the 4th of July. And in February, it is a month, a time to honor the numerous triumphs and struggles of the African Americans. Welcome to our District Discourse, the first of our series of discussions of topics pertinent to the Crestwood School District. And today, we will delve into Black History Month. Welcome, Crestwood community. I am Dr. Mosallam, your host for District Discourse. Today, we gather for a roundtable that promises an enriching dialogue and shared insights. Joining me are members of our district and community who embody the spirit of leadership and engagement. Firstly, I am pleased and honored to introduce Dr. Harvey-Flowers, a respected educator at Crestwood High School and the esteemed advisor of the Black Student Union. We are honored by your presence, Dr. Flowers, but I also want to add, I am honored to share this table with you because you are one of our gems in our community and our school district.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here to join in this conversation with all of you.
Well, thank you. Next, we welcome LaChelle Moreland-Jones, a dedicated and inspirational high school senior who has become a trailblazer in both academics and athletics. But let's not forget her drama and well-rounded instrumental performances with the electric guitar. Am I correct on that?
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Well, and I want to add to this, LaChelle is on the brink of hitting 1,000 points and the girls' varsity basketball team. So, she's just breaking every record we have thus far. So keep up the great work. I also want to welcome with us Mr. Carl Littlejohn, another senior whose leadership continues to make significant impact. Carl is an athlete and the co-founder of the Black Student Union, and most recently starred in the role of Audrey II in Broadway, Little Shop of Horrors, and probably so many other things that I can't remember. But, it's a pleasure to have you, Carl. Over the time I've been here as superintendent, I watch a lot of you all from behind the screen. You don't see what I see, and you've always been a leader and stepped out. So I'm so happy to have you with us today.
I'm so glad that we could come here and talk about things. Thank you, I really appreciate it.
Of course. Lastly but not least, we are joined by Chris Wright. I've actually nicknamed Chris my Renaissance man, who is also a senior whose voice and actions contribute greatly to our district and community. I mentioned I reference him as the Renaissance man, and the reason for that is because his involvement in football, basketball, theater, student organizations, and so many other things that I'm probably unaware of, makes him someone who truly represents what the Crestwood School District is and was. Even with the bell going off in the back room, I'm sure he had something to do with it, because he's always looking for the spotlight. So, Chris, again, I always, as I said, watching you all from the background, behind the scenes, seeing what you do. Appreciate having you here. I'm so happy you're part of our panel.
Thank you, Dr. Mosallam. I really appreciate it. Thank you for inviting me to come be a part of this discussion.
Thank you all for being part of this important conversation. Your experiences and perspectives are invaluable as we recognize and celebrate the contributions of African Americans. Let's begin our discussion. Dr. Harvey-Flowers, as a staff member in the Crestwood School District, please take a few moments to talk about how you see Black History Month being integrated into our curriculum and school culture, and what impact do you believe this integration has on all students of all backgrounds?
So I think that it's important to remember that, Black history obviously encompasses so much more than can be covered in the 28 or 29 days of February. So what I can definitely give credit to the district for is just this very, very strong focus on making sure that diverse viewpoints are represented, and ensuring that all of our students have a voice in the things that we're doing. The students at this table successfully advocated for the Black Student Union at the high school, which then trickled down to the middle school. They advocated for courses that represented themselves in their own history. So I think that we are doing so much to head in the right direction, but with any mountain you climb, there's always work that still has to be done.
I do appreciate your response and your sentiment on that, because ultimately, at the end of the day, you're right. We serve a community. but we also serve a broader global community. And all of our students have to understand that diversity is a great thing. That's what made this country such a great country, because we're all diverse. We all have different backgrounds, and it's okay to have different beliefs or different ideologies. So I appreciate your sentiment on that, and you are right. You know, these three phenomenal students here, with your leadership, don't discredit yourself.
I'll just do what they tell me to do.
But with your leadership, these three students have really pushed the envelope on expanding, and we're hoping that you all, as trailblazers, are opening up the doors for many more students to come to do even more things.
Absolutely.
So thank you, Doctor. LaChelle, so it's your turn now. I want to pick that brain of yours. Can you share a personal experience while learning about Black history or culture in school that made a significant impact on your understanding and or perspective?
I think advocating for African American history in itself is its own experience with, getting more involvement and more inclusion of African American history and more Black culture in the schools. And it's not just African American kids or the Black kids want to do this, but there are other kids in the class, in the course, who are, going through the course, learning as much as we are, thanks to Dr. Harvey-Flowers, and being able to see, at least personally, someone who looks like me or people who are looking like me doing things in the world being great. It's inspiring.
That's a great sentiment. That's a great, viewpoint, because it is true. Too often in society and in communities, especially in areas of public institutions, you have to have a diverse group of individuals, not just students, but teachers, because that allows for an understanding, a more comfortable opportunity to get to know more people, to understand more people, to have clear and open dialogue. And I really respect that. I really do, because there are things, I've been in education for almost 30 years now, and there are things that I learn every day. But I'll be honest with all of you, I learn most of my things from students such as yourselves, just from informal and quick conversations. So thank you for that insight. Carl, I'm having you go next, just because, I'm worried that Chris will say something and then the bells will go off again. But
He has that effect.
in your view, Carl, what are some effective ways students can actively participate in and contribute to Black History Month celebrations and education within our school district?
I think it goes beyond just Black History Month as a whole, because like Dr. Harvey-Flowers said, it's just 28 or 29 days, but it has to be more of a mindset sort of thing, whether it be we take a time during the announcements in the morning to talk about an influential Black figure in history, or someone that has created an impact in the schooling that we are affecting right now. I think taking time to appreciate people that are in our own community that have created an impact and done good for a mass amount of people, it would affect them in a more intimate way rather than just learning about people that you see on the television or read about once or twice in class. Going back to your question, I think that there are just many little things you can support Black Student Union that we just created. We could also, again, take time to appreciate these things on our students' CNN, or again, announcements. Just spread awareness of how much African Americans have impacted our society.
You talk about impact, and I want to take a moment to talk about that, because that's a very important piece. I can tell you as myself, my actual background is I'm certified English and history teacher. I've always liked history, but the reason why I say this is because I really didn't understand history until I went to university. Until I started getting exposed to so many different groups and cultures and leaders, like identifying that there are so many people out there that have done so much more than what I was understanding as a young man going through the public schooling system. So, you saying that also strikes something to me, and it's about empowerment. Knowing that there are others that come from a similar background as myself, that look like me, that have traveled a very similar road that I have traveled, that have impacted society for so many years later, that empowers you to believe and know that you could do the same thing. So you touch upon something that is very key and crucial. I appreciate that.
I'm going to push back just gently, Dr. Mosallam, excuse me. But I think it's important that we uplift the notion that the learning of hard history, whether it's African American history or whatever population we're specifically talking about, has to be something that is learned by all.
Yes.
Yes, it is empowering for people whose ancestors have lived that specific type of history, but it's also very, very empowering and impactful for those who may not have been immediately affected by whatever events transpired. I think that when we think about the African American history class that these three advocated and bullied me into teaching, when we think about that and we think about the makeup of that class has 30 students in it. 6 of them are African American. I have students with a wide range of skill sets from many diverse backgrounds. I have students where this is actually their first history class that they've taken in the United States. And there is still so much to be learned. And I think we have to not only like uplift the work that African Americans have done, but we have to uplift the fact that African American history is American history, but moreover, teaching hard history isn't scary. It's not something that we should avoid. I feel like right now, if you look on the news and TikTok, Fox News, X, Twitter, whatever it's called this month, when you look at that, it makes you think like, if we're talking about, you know, states below us, cough, cough, Florida, that we can't talk about this type of stuff. But when you see students who, this is their first history class in this country, and they are engaging with the work, they are asking meaningful questions, this is important work that we're doing. Because if we don't take the time to expose our students to all aspects of history and all aspects of the American experience, we are doing all of our students a disservice. Is it important for those of us that look like us at this table to understand where we came from and understand our history? Absolutely, because if you do not know where you are going, if you do not know where you've been, you will never know where you're going. That's a fact. But we have to make sure that this is an opportunity and an option that is afforded to everybody. Because if we can't teach hard history to people who is not their history, then why are we teaching it?
You know what? I tell you, said perfectly. Thank you for that. Because that is the truth. And I won't say any more because I can't say it any better. So, great job. So Chris, now we're coming over to you.
Okay.
No bells.
You know, wait, no bells, no bells. You know, Chris, I call you the Renaissance man because, again, you know, watching you all from you know, behind the screen and seeing everything you do, I think this question comes perfectly for you. You know, looking towards the future, what changes or additions would you like to see in our district's approach to celebrating Black History Month and supporting diversity throughout the year?
I think that it could go a lot deeper than Black History Month, like both my peers and Dr. Flowers were saying. This year we fought for an African American history class and a Black student union. And of course the district did support us in getting those things, but I think the next step would be in offering an AP African American history class, because I feel like Dr. Flowers just said, Mr. Mosallam.
That's okay.
As Dr. Flowers just said, we do have to teach the hard history, because it's really easy to teach the rudimentary things like how Rosa Parks said no on the bus, or you know, what Malcolm X said, or Martin Luther King's marches, but I think you do have to teach the difficult things in an African American history class that would be AP could support that throughout the whole year. And I think you as you're qualified to be a history teacher, understand that history is really important for, I think, 2 reasons. It's important because it repeats itself, and it's important because history has relevance today. Mm-hmm. And I think it's really important to teach not only everybody, but especially, you know, young Black boys and girls, how things that happen that are a part of Black history still affect us today. Like, we don't talk about things like you know, redlining or gentrification or the origins of soul food or Black last names. We don't teach things like that. Mm-hmm. We teach the very surface level things about really the civil rights movement and the Jim Crow era, but we don't talk about how these things still affect us in 2024 in our economy and our populations and our communities. And I think that's really important for everybody to understand.
You know, you touch upon, again, all of you touch upon some very important things. And I can tell you, not only are we just having this roundtable conversation, but I'm also taking mental notes. in terms of like, what am I going to walk away from with this? You know, as a superintendent, the one who ultimately is going to say yay or nay to things. You know, you talk about an AP African American class, you know, African American literature or African American history. That, you know what? Consider it. It's done. You know, you talk about us, you know, I love the fact that all of you discussed how everyone has to learn about everyone. So we need to start looking at our curriculum. And I'm not just talking about curriculum in, you know, the high school, but we need to look at our curriculum all the way from elementary through high school. Because guess what? We aren't, and we should not be just teaching from a book. We should be teaching the realities of what our children and our future leaders are going to be impacted by, to assist them to understand, to assist them to grow. So you can consider that everything you said at this roundtable did not go on deaf ears, and we will see a change. And we will definitely be looking further into that. Thank you so much for your insight.
Thank you.
That's awesome. You know, again, this roundtable was just to touch upon the importance of, you know, Black History Month, the impact of African Americans on our community, our society, globally, locally, but also the impact, as stated, on others, so that we can be a holistic community, a holistic environment, a holistic understanding of one another. So I want to extend my deepest thanks to Dr. Harvey-Flowers, LaChelle, Carl, and Chris for their insightful contributions. The stories and perspectives you've shared today not only deepen our appreciation for Black History Month, but also highlight the ongoing journey toward an inclusive community that we're all part of. And I think that's the key thing we have to understand. To everyone who has joined us for this session of District Discourse, your presence, your engagement, all that you do to make these conversations meaningful and transformative. Thank you for adding your voices to ours. Before we part ways, I encourage all of you to subscribe and share this post. It is through your support and continued efforts that we can continuously positively narrate the shape and the focus of our district's legacy, growth, and advancements. And please, stay tuned for our next District Discourse, where we will delve into the topic of social-emotional learning and connecting district voices with all that matters. Remember, the dialogues we have here are just a starting point. Let us each take the initiative to carry these conversations into our daily lives, to listen, to learn, and to grow. We must do this every day, and we must do it together. Thank you once again for being with us. Until next time, keep the discourse alive, and let's keep connecting on all that matters to the Crestwood community and our children and the needs of our district. LaChelle, thank you for all your feedback and insight. Dr. Harvey-Flowers, this conversation I know with you and I isn't going to end, and we're going to continue to grow.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate you. Thank you. You know, Chris, great job. Thank you for being here. Your insight is truly helpful, and you brought up some very good points.
Thank you, Dr. Mosallam.
And Carl, I appreciate everything you brought to the table. Thank you for this, and I want to thank the 3 seniors here for everything they've given to Crestwood School District, even before I came in as superintendent, while I was superintendent. And I know how much more you're going to give back once you graduate. Thank you again, everyone, and thank you, community. Looking forward to our next District Discourse.